Three, two, one. And we are back. This is episode number 84 of Calibrated with Scott. I'm Scott, of course. We have an interesting topic to go over today, and I wanted to do it in this format, a video that I'm recording and posting a little later just so I can show you guys on the map. I'm going to draw some arrows. I'm going to show you what's going on. So it's a little different than the live stream. This is sort of harder to do on the live stream, so I'm doing it here and now. A little bit of extra content for you guys, so I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, we're going to head over to that picture that I have. And as you can see, this is the backside of Avdiivka right here. I'm going to show you guys what's going on. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, or perhaps not, I haven't titled it yet as I'm recording it. I have some ideas, though. This second line of defense behind Avdiivka, the first line of defense, I guess, behind Avdiivka, but the second line in this area has all but collapsed to the Russian aggression. You can see particularly these larger bordered areas, the purple right here and the green right here. These are today's advances, which would be the completion of the capture of Tenenki, and the Orlivka has been completely captured. Besides, there is a small portion of the administrative boundary of this town that is over here. So the Ukrainians are claiming that they're still in Orlivka, even though it's like 3 houses on this side of the reservoir. But so Orlivka, Tenenki has been captured by the Russians. The Ukrainians are fighting desperately in this northern area. Hold on. I'm going to go with blue and show you guys. So we have the Ukrainians pushing very hard in Berdichi, very hard up here, down from Orchitny towards Krasnohorivka, trying to push the Russians back on this northern jut, I guess you would call it. What used to be the northern flank of the Avdiivka salient is now just basically the front line up here. It's slow moving because the Ukrainians have easy logistics. There's not really there's not a lot of Russian pressure up in this direction heading north. So most of it is over here to the east. I'm actually going to get rid of those arrows that I just put so I can show you what the Russians are doing right now. Come down here. I'm going to use yellow for the Russians, blue for the Ukrainians. So as I said, we have the Russian push capturing Tenenki. We also have a Ukrainian retreat here back behind this little reservoir. Let me see, or not reservoir, sorry. It's like a creek bed, more or less. Let me, I'll use red for that just so you guys can see where the new Ukrainian position is, right around here. They retreated behind all of that. So this is now in the gray zone. The Ukrainian positions are back behind this little red outcrop. So I'm going to get rid of the Ukrainian thing. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to leave that line here so you can see where the front line is right there. This is where the Ukrainians' next defensive position is, in front of Umansk. It is probably going to be a very decent position. An open field is hard to cross for the Russians. They'll try to probably work up along these trees, but Umansk provides a great barrier here, or logistics position for this barrier here. On top of that, we have further Russian pushes into Semenivka. Oops, sorry, did the wrong arrow there. Into Semenivka here. So they're heading towards the administrative borders of Semenivka. Remember, Semenivka is of vital importance to this entire defense line. If the Russians are able, and they've already crossed here and are approaching from the north as well as from the south, if the Russians are able to apply a lot of pressure and get the Ukrainians to retreat out of Semenivka, which, by the way, I believe the Ukrainian defensive line is back here behind Semenivka, not necessarily in the village itself, then the situation here gets much more difficult. The Russians can begin assaulting Berdichi more aggressively because there's just no Ukrainian flank holding, protecting Berdichi. It's already sort of collapsing here, but they still have this road to keep supplied. And there's these staging positions right here, so it's a little bit easier for the Ukrainians to attack down. But the Russians are looking to basically overwhelm the Ukrainians here, get rid of Semenivka. Oh, sorry, arrows still. Get rid of Semenivka here, like that, and then progress deeper behind this line. Because if you guys remember, when the Russians were first pushing out of Avdiivka, they they captured Lestokny really fast. They captured Stepove pretty quick. Severny. This whole area fell rather quickly. And the Ukrainians were getting routed out of the city. The city collapsed. It wasn't working out for the Ukrainians. And they retreated back behind this line. And it looked like the Russians were just going to run over this entire line and move back. Syrskyi was promoted to commander of the AFU. He brought in the 47th Mechanized Brigades, which had the Abrams. We saw a good number of Abrams and Bradleys lost for Berdichi. Apparently, 15 separate, I guess I would say probably battalion-sized groups. So they had 15 separate brigades, at least a battalion-sized group from each brigade, that was contributing to the defense in this region. And that kind of goes to show you how weak individual brigades in the Ukrainian armed forces are. There wasn't just a brigade, one identifiable structure. No, you had 15 separate brigades. That's a bunch of different brigade commanders, battalion commanders, all of that stuff. So it overcomplicates things. It really kind of goes to show what the overall arching situation is for the Ukrainians in terms of their reserves. But as I was saying, after Semenivka, so here we'll do this. My dog's drinking water. We will go here real fast. So after Semenivka, right? The Russians capture that, which probably won't take very long. It's like one road, a couple houses. It's not anything significant, and the defensive structures here are not that significant. It's also been bombed pretty heavily by the Russians, so this should not take as long. It was really capturing Orlivka and Tenenki down here, and now that that's done, this progress should come a little bit quicker, and the Ukrainians should be forced to retreat. So what is the next plan for the Russians once they get behind this line? The Russians will gain access to multiple roads. I'll actually do the roads in white just so you guys can see it here. We got one that goes like this, like this, like this, like this. We have a road that comes up here, and that goes down like this. And then we have this road that comes up. Boom, boom. And then this road that goes back like this. So the Russians are going to be looking to utilize the roads. Remember, it's much easier to move along roads. Getting past Semenivka here is going to really open up the field for the Russians back behind Avdiivka. And remember, as I said, the reason why the Ukrainians committed so much here is because they just don't have a very strong line back behind this line. Now, with the time that they bought with this defense, 2 or 3 weeks, they might have built up something in the back, but it takes months to build up these defense lines, guys. So I think the goal was to try to stop the Russians here. The Russians seem to be progressing again. They look like they have pretty endless reserves to be throwing at these issues. So now, after Semenivka falls, Berdichi will be the next goal. I think that's very clear. The Russians will probably capture Berdichi rather quickly. The whole town's destroyed, and it's really not worth holding it if you're not holding Semenivka anymore. So I think the Russians will begin to press out towards Novobakhmutivka. They will try to progress up this road like this, and then over and continue along the road. Again, all you have to do is look at two different things: the topographical map to know where the high ground is, and look at where the roads are. Because these are the two most important things in Ukraine. The high ground is all up here, right? There's also a decent high ground in between these sets of villages. So the Russians will probably try to push out on that so they can look down on these towns as well. So again, out of Semenivka, you're going to follow the road, capture the road, capture out into this area and put pressure on Novopokrovsk, and then further pressure on Novoselivka, pressure onto Umansk, obviously. And then from here, once Umansk falls, the Ukrainians are going to be in a very, very difficult situation because the Russians are going to be able to push out, push out. This is probably where the last Ukrainian defense line will be. I mean, every subsequent Ukrainian defense line behind this one will probably be makeshift and will serve only to slow the Russians down, not stop them like other defense lines are meant to. And again, with the fall of Tenenki, we will also see progress through these fields. They're down here, pushing down towards Pervomayske. Really, once this line falls, everything opens up for the Russians here. That's the goal right now. The Russians have not stopped. They have not taken an operational pause on this front since the Battle of Avdiivka. They are committing hard here because they can they can taste the blood in the water. The Ukrainians are very weak. They're committing troops up in Belgorod right now, like thousands of troops. So really, now's the go time for the Russians. That the aid isn't coming in. Morale is low. The manpower is not bountiful for the Ukrainians. It is bountiful for the Russians, and they are just throwing everything that they have at multiple different directions. And I believe in the coming days, in the coming weeks, we'll probably see a breakthrough in this region. Again, the Ukrainians will probably bring in a lot of manpower to try to relieve the situation here. I don't know if they're going to be able to as easily this time. They really did throw a lot into this. Like a lot of manpower was wasted trying to hold this line. And I just don't think that the Ukrainian line back behind here is particularly strong. So that's going to force even more Ukrainian reserve rotation down here to try to hold the Russians. And then at that moment, once the first breakthrough happens and Ukraine has to rush down, I thought it was going to be back behind Avdiivka. Once the Russians were almost in full control of Berdichi and Orlivka right after, I figured that we were about to see a collapse on the backside. The Ukrainians did what they needed to do, sacrificed a bunch of men, stopped the advance, but now the Russians are starting up again, and we're going to see probably a breakthrough back behind Avdiivka. So be on the lookout for that over the coming days. Remember, it's all going to start with the fall of Semenivka. Once that happens, we could see a large amount of movement in this region right here. All right. That is all for me today. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to do some of these shorter videos doing like smaller explanations of individual regions. I kind of do broad coverage on my live map or on my live stream. So be sure to go check that out. I live stream almost every day unless there's no news, and then I don't live stream. So yeah, go check that out. I am on Rumble as well. If you guys want to go check me out there, follow me on Twitter. And my Telegram is Kalibrated. Go follow me there. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.